Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and welcome to Dr. Boyce and Noma Langa. I am here with Noma Langa Mushali Moses from Healthy Black Woman. How you doing today, Noma?
I'm doing great, boys. How are you?
I am fine. You are fresh off the plane from Botswana, where you've been for how many years? Were you in Botswana before you came home?
I was there for a little bit longer than expected, but in my defense, I'm back in Boston. It's June, and I'm still cold, and I need to put on a sweater. So I'm starting to feel like I made a mistake by coming back.
Well, you know what? I went to Botswana not too long ago, and the weather was so nice. It was so warm every day. It was what 90. It was over 100 on a lot of days, right?
Yes, bright and sunny, warm.
Yikes.
Yeah, I can't complain.
Yeah, yeah, that weather was it's beautiful and it's like dry heat. Is it Botswana? From what
It
I
is.
understand, it's the middle of a desert. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
part of yeah, a huge part of Botswana is desert, so it is dry heat, so it's tolerable.
But people should know Botswana is such a beautiful country, and if you get a chance to go, you got to go. And in fact, at some point, we're actually talking about having a group go to Botswana, and we'll tell you guys about that more as it happens. Now, when you came back, you saw that I'd said some things and written some things about Kenya Moore, and Kenya Moore made some remarks about black men. That
Right.
some people agreed with, some people disagreed with. A lot of people were saying that actually Kenya was outraged because I think it was Vibe magazine quoted her saying all black men are in jail. What was it? She said in jail, gay, married. What else? Unemployed,
Unemployed.
yeah, or in relationships, and that was why it's difficult for a woman like her to find a man to be with. And so, personally, I took some issue with it because I wasn't really sure if I appreciated the tone of the comments. In the sense that it's not like we disagree that black men aren't struggling or that there isn't kind of an issue going on. But when you sort of talk about the problem and don't talk about the causes or the reasons for the problem, you're kind of missing an important part of the equation. Now, let me ask you this. Now, when you read up on Kenya Moore's comments, and you actually did your research and you looked into what she said so you wouldn't get her wrong and misquote her, what did you think as a woman a married woman who's married to an African American man?
Well, here's the thing. I saw the story, so I read an article that naturally mocked about what she said. And it said that she said most men are gay, they're in prison or unemployed, most black men. And I did say, I think just before we started recording here, I said that I think a mistake was saying most or saying all, but I think if she said many are, that's not inaccurate. You know, there are a lot of black men who are unemployed, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the highest unemployment rate in this country exists among black men. And then that's again, another one of the topics that we talk a lot about where black men are imprisoned disproportionately to the rest of the general population. So again, she's correct on that part. And then the gay issue, I don't want to touch that, but there are gay black men. Um, where I think she makes the mistake is where she said most or she said all, rather than saying that there are many men that way. But then, even if there are many men who are gay, in prison, unemployed, and are in relationships or married, there are those that aren't. And if she's a normal, viable relationship partner, why isn't she finding the ones that aren't? And
Mm.
that's the $1 million question.
Well, and I think that is $1 million question. And what I want to do is I want to ask you the $500,000 question too. Um, you and Kenya Moore have a few things in common in that both of you are well known. She's on national television every week, so she's
Right.
more well known than all of us. But a lot of people know who you are, and also you've both won beauty pageants. So my perception is that I assume neither one of you has had a shortage of men that have hit on you throughout the years, right? Now, obviously, we know that there's a lot more quantity than quality, and you and I talked about that. That we know that every guy that hits on you is not going to be worth it. In fact, the majority of them may not be, right? Um, but
Right.
but there's got to be some quality in there. And so, what's difficult for me to understand is this notion that a woman like a Kenya Moore, who's been hit on by thousands of men, could go through her life and say the reason I haven't found a life partner is because out of all these thousands of men I've met, not one of them was worthy of a long-term relationship. That just sounds a little bit screwed up, to be honest with you. What do you think?
I agree with you. I don't think that the problem necessarily is that most or all or even many men are gay or in prison or any of that, and she can't find somebody. I do believe that the problem lies with her. And I used to watch some episodes back when she had first come onto the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And she was supposed to be in a relationship with a man. And to me, it looked like she was crazy, and he did what any normal man would do. He got away from her. She was trying to rush him into marriage. Her behavior was very erratic. I just, I had to wonder if she was really like that or if she was behaving that way just for the sake of ratings or because she was on TV. And from that small snippet, if it's anything to go by, no man in his right mind will be with her. That was my observation. So it's easy for her to say there's something wrong with all these men or there's something that eliminates them as a potential partner, but I think she does a pretty good job of eliminating herself.
Interesting. Well, you know what? I have to say that when I look at Kenya Moore, there's nothing about her that's attractive to me. Other than um, her packaging, right? She's almost flawless, as far as beauty. I mean, a beautiful woman, no question about it. But it seems that she still hasn't learned, and I think this is a lesson for anybody else who hasn't learned it. She hasn't learned that, that which makes you an attractive woman is not what makes you an attractive wife. Can you talk about
Right.
that a little bit in terms of the difference between just being a pretty girl versus somebody that a man says, I want to bring her home to my mother and I want to spend the rest of my life with her? Where's the bridge there?
I think one of the things that stands out about this woman is that she's nasty. She's a horrible person to be around. And again, we can only go by what we're seeing or what she's showing us when she's on the show. She seems to think that everybody's against her or that they gang up on her, but she's really a horrible person. She's almost impossible to get along with. And honestly, that's a good indicator of how a person will be when they get into a marriage relationship. Because the truth is, you're going to have to get along with the person you're in the relationship with. And there's no two ways about it. It has to last forever, and you have to have the skills to get along with other people. That's the first thing. The second thing is she seems to be very self-involved, very selfish. Okay, most of what she does is all about her, and she expects everybody to go along with what she wants. Again, if you're going to be in a relationship with another person, that's not going to work. And then the third thing is her behavior is outrageous. She does all kinds of things to get attention. And again, no self respecting man would want a wife who's constantly embarrassing him and can't conduct herself in public. Those are just three of the things that stand out, but I could tell you more.
Interesting. Well, I'm on the same page. And I think this is kind of important. I think it's important um, for women like my daughters to hear from women like you, because we have conversations about this all the time. That getting what you want from a man it's a lot deeper than just wearing the right makeup, getting the right hair extensions, or wearing the shortest skirt in the room. There is a strategy to it, and if you don't understand the strategy, then you're going to be consistently confused because you're going
Right.
to perhaps mistake male attention for sincere, meaningful, lasting affection from a man,
Right.
right? And so, I say, what's funny? It's almost like you have a contingent of some women, not all, not even, not, I wouldn't even say most, but you have a contingent of some women that maybe conduct themselves in relationships in ways that just don't work for them, but they all kind of get to freeload on this bandwagon idea that the reason their relationships aren't working is because black men are flawed, right? And what it does is it kind of relinquishes them from accountability for their own behavior,
Right.
their own choices. Because sometimes it may not even be how you conduct yourself in relationships. It may also be who you're choosing, right?
Right.
And that's a whole, I think that's a whole nother dynamic that people forget, that choosing the right relationship, it's a little bit like choosing the right job. A lot of employers might come along and offer you different salaries, and but if you don't know the difference between, say, a job that pays a high salary with no benefits, say a temporary job that pays a high salary with no benefits, you can't compare that to a job with a 3-year contract that offers a benefits package and a lower salary. You can't just look at the salary and say, well, I'm taking that job because it's paying me more money, because this other job also is offering you no security and nothing but the salary. So some men offer that too. Some men will offer you a perfect package, the most handsome man you ever met, whatever, but he's not looking to stay with you for the long term, and he brings nothing else to the table in terms of character, intelligence, integrity, all the things that you need out of a good man, if that's what you're looking for. But again,
Right.
just like the job comparison, if all you're looking for is money, and you don't care how long you're on the job, then yeah, you do take that temporary job, with the high salary. But you have to look at things in what we call in math, we call this a multidimensional framework, meaning you can't use one variable to make decisions. And that's what I've seen, and that's what I warn my daughters against. I just tell them, okay, you know what? I'll say, sweetie, I know we were in the store and you were staring down the guy with the big muscles, and it's okay to appreciate big muscles. There's a fundamental biological reason women are attracted to men who possess strength. Strength is communicated in various ways. It's communicated through it could be communicated through physique, through height, through wealth, through power, through intelligence, all these things. Fine, that's natural, but
Right.
make sure you understand the difference between what you want and what you need. And also make
Right.
sure you understand that you can't let your primitive instincts drive every decision you make when it comes to your attraction to a man. So when you finish checking out the guy with the big muscles, make sure you take a step back and get to know him as a person, as a human
Right.
being. Because if you don't, you're going to end up exploited. He's going to run through your life like he's run through the last 100 girls, and you're going to be calling me up crying because this man didn't give you what you wanted when you didn't take the time to make sure he was the right man for you in the first place. So
Right.
that's my last bit of fatherly advice to any young women who are listening, because maybe they don't have fathers at home that'll tell them this stuff, but I try to share everything I know, things I've observed from watching my friends, my male and female friends, and maybe it can help somebody. Now I'll let you get the last word, Noma. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, just to piggyback on your job analogy, the other thing is, supposing you did make a good decision, you picked the right job. Um, After you pick the job, there's time for you to perform. And the truth is, if you don't perform because you haven't prepared yourself, you're not a quality employee, if that's what we want to call it, you're gonna get fired. And you're gonna keep getting fired, even if you get the right job. And again, that was my observation with this woman, with Kenya Moore, is the guy she wanted or was in a relationship or whatever. He seemed somewhat normal, but he went running. And the truth is because she was just not conducting herself in such a way that if he was an employer, he would keep her as an employee. He had to get rid of her. So there's many levels to it. You can be a wonderful person and really deserve to be in a relationship with a good person, but again, if your self-esteem is so low that you're making the wrong decisions, again, you're going to find yourself not being able to sustain relationships. Or even if you're making the right decisions and making the right choices and finding good men, if you yourself are not prepared and walking into the relationship as a whole person who's willing to grow and evolve with another person, again, it's still not going to work.
And I think to take the we've got the people out here that don't like things like that even subtly indicate any form of patriarchy. I think you can even go beyond the employer employee analogy and say two things. One, she might be your employee, but you're all as a man, you're also her employee too. You can
Right,
fire each other. So let's
right,
not. I don't want the message to get diluted by this idea that, oh well, girl, I'm not his employee. You kind of see that
right,
attitude, and that right there is a great way to mess up a relationship when you're constantly walking around with a chip on your shoulder, like,
right.
I'm not going to let this person push me around or whatever. Well, most marriages I've seen that really work, each partner kind of has to submit to the other on some level at some point. If you're not prepared
Absolutely.
to do that, then you're not prepared to be married with anybody. And also, I do see. I've always thought of the marriage in the similar way that you describe it, in that it's a you could think of employee-employee relationship, and more broadly, it's a partnership. Period. So think about choosing a business partner. If you're choosing someone to go into business with, that you're going to be working with for the next 20, 30 years, that you're going to have millions of dollars on the line with, that you're going to be working with day in and day out, would you just pick the most handsome person that
Best
you meet,
looking.
or the person that has the most money, or the person that impresses you in the first 5 minutes? No, if you're smart, you're going to spend a long time getting to know somebody. I know that when I go into business with people, I take months, if not years, evaluating their character, how they solve problems, what skill set are they bringing to the table, what kind of resources they might be bringing to the table,
Right.
just all these factors that are going to come into play, because what happens is that character and that integrity comes to the surface when the going gets tough. You see, that's when you learn
Right.
what people are really made of, is how do you respond when things get hard. Anybody can love you and kiss you and hug you and treat you like you're royalty when they're happy, when things are going
Right.
well, right? You just finished having sex, of course she's going to cook for you and tell you that you're wonderful, right? The question is, what happens when you're not happy, for the time being? What happens if I piss you off? What happens if you're not getting what you want? What happens if you're frustrated, stressed out, or whatever? How much diligence do you have to make that relationship work? How hard are you willing to work to compromise with the other party in that relationship? I think those things are so important. In fact, that's what it really takes to make this stuff work. Because
Right.
relationships are not easy. If you can't
Right.
if you can't stick to anything, then don't do it. Don't get married. Don't try. Don't even try to date anybody. Just go on one night stands or date people for 2 or 3 weeks, because that's all you can do. So that's it. That's all I want to say. I'm so glad we have this conversation. I always learn
Me
when I get
too.
a chance to talk to you. Thank you, Noma.
Thank you. I want to actually just agree with you on and say that you pointed out something that's very, very important. And actually, relationships, for the most part, are about your ability to overcome conflict, your skills in dealing with conflict. And the longer you are and the more relationships that you have, if you really look at it, you'll find that until you've had a conflict with somebody, you never really know if the relationship can be sustained, or if it's long term, or if it's worthy of, of you trusting the person and them trusting you to do the right thing when there's conflict.
Wait, so you mean that if things don't go right for me, I can't just like scream and yell and cuss people out and throw things and punch a wall? You mean that's not going to work in a long-term relationship?
You can do that, but as long as you calm down, as long as you calm down and recognize that there's a way forward. That's really all I'm saying. Because the truth is, I do feel like, especially in personal relationships, you also do have to have, you have to give people a long leash in terms of how they will react and how they act. Again, and give them the freedom and the room to be who they are, even if they turn into a big baby. As long as they get over it, and get into the phase or the mode of, okay, let's resolve this. How do we move forward? How do we solve this? Whether it's a personal relationship, business relationship, whatever it is, it's the aftermath and in terms of, do I have the skills to negotiate, to communicate, and to compromise and move forward?
Mm. All right. Well, I love it. I love it. So speaking of moving forward, we're gonna let people move forward with their day, and I appreciate people that are checking this out. And just listen to Noma Lanka. She's been married a decade, so she knows what she's talking about, and she's great to work with, and a great compromiser and all that stuff.
Thank
And
you.
I just think people can really learn a lot from you. Don't listen to all these single people out here giving relationship advice, or people that have been divorced 2 or 3 times. They kind of know what they're talking about, but they probably don't. Talk to people that kind of know what it takes to make this stuff work. You can learn a lot more that way. It's common sense. All right, everybody. Well, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and this is Miss Nomalanga Mushali Moses from HealthyBlackWoman.com. So I hope you'll go check out Healthy Black Woman. And what's the name of your book again?
Seven
Seven
life-changing habits.
Seven Life Changing Habits. So read the book. It'll change your life. It'll get you where you want to get to. I promise. All right. Until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.